Hello, welcome to this update for the U.S. and Canada. So let's just see what's happening because we have new updates about the severe weather tomorrow and some more stuff. So first, let's see what's happening now. We have a marginal risk there today and some areas of potential thunderstorms near Texas, parts of Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, but those storms will be more like a cold type because it's snowing there and very cold, but still there might be a storm or two mixed within that snow, and it shows in eastern Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, a thing or two, and near the Great Lakes there, near New York. So the marginal risk includes no tornado threat, but a 5% wind threat, parts of Oklahoma until western Iowa, and hail, 5% hail too. So be aware there. The thunderstorm development may occur late tonight into early Wednesday morning, so late tonight until Wednesday, across parts of southern central plains. A conditional threat, isolated hail or gusty winds will exist if thunderstorms can form before the end of the period. So be aware there. But for tomorrow, they might update this more times tomorrow, depending on how the forecast goes. But as of now, we still have a slight risk from Texas to southern Iowa and a marginal from central Texas to Wisconsin. So this includes a 5% tornado threat in Oklahoma and 2% tornado threat from northern Texas to southern Iowa. So be aware there tomorrow. There's the potential for maybe a few tornadoes, especially in the 5%. And then wind threat, 15 and 5%, and hail, 15 and 5% as well. So mainly wind and hail, but there can be a few tornadoes. So let's see, thunderstorms associated with large hail and severe gusts are expected on Wednesday across southern central plains, extending eastward to the lower Mississippi Valley and the Ozarks. So be aware. And here they explain like what might happen, the levels of instability and everything, but if I read all of this, it will be too long. So just be aware there. Let me see if I show you some other forecasts. Uh, this forecast, these other forecasts I will show are more experimental, but they're interesting too. So this is today. Tomorrow, the Colorado State University also has a 5% tornado threat near Missouri, Kansas, and southern Iowa, and it has a 2% all the way to Wisconsin and Michigan, and the Storm Prediction Center has a 5%, like I told you there. So those forecasts are very similar, but there's this other forecast from NATOcast I saw today. They have a 10% tornado threat there. This is some other experimental model, so this is not an official forecast, but sometimes these probabilities are right. So we'll just watch this and see if they update any changes on tomorrow's outlook. But just be aware on that 5% there and the potential for a few tornadoes. And day 3, there's still a marginal for Thursday from like Texas, Louisiana, parts of Mississippi and Arkansas. So be aware, 5% probabilistic. So thunderstorms associated with severe wind and gusts and some hail with possible Thursday parts of the lower mid Mississippi Valley. So be aware. And day 4 for rates, still nothing. And today is also a critical fire threat for parts of Texas, Oklahoma Panhandle, Kansas, and Colorado there. So be aware. There's the elevated too from like Texas to Nebraska and New Mexico too, and elevated in parts of Illinois and Indiana there. So be aware. The elevated area, yeah, so be aware. Because of the gusty winds, like dry weather, it's like dry and those warm temperatures in the high 80s still, so for fire danger. So be careful there. There's like the map today shows that heavy snow in Wyoming, parts of Colorado, more snow across Idaho, Montana, Nevada, and Utah, and shows the rain and storms in the green and some mixed precipitation northern Maine and other parts of the west there. Tomorrow, some more snow in Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah, and the rain and some mixed precipitation there. In the blue, and some rain and storms in other areas in the severe weather. Day 3, some more snow across Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and does show some heavy snow possible in those high elevations of the west there. So be aware, this is for Thursday to Friday. And then the snowfall probabilities today, Tuesday, if I'm right, yes, Tuesday, shows those very high probabilities in Wyoming there, Colorado and Utah. So be aware of that heavier snow today there. Maybe a snow or two in westernmost South Dakota and southern Montana. So yeah, be aware. Day 2 shows more near the mountains of Oregon and Washington, and still in Colorado some, even northern California, a tiny hint or two. Day 3 shows more in Idaho, and especially in Oregon there, and parts of northern California and Washington. Day 4 still some probabilities on the west for Friday. For Saturday still some slight probabilities. For Sunday and for next Monday still some slight probabilities in the Rockies there. So be aware, today still no flooding, no excessive rainfall, but tomorrow there's a marginal risk from Texas to Wisconsin of excessive rainfall. Day 3 shows from Texas to Kentucky on Thursday, so be aware. Day 4 in Texas again and New Mexico, Oklahoma. Day 5 there's a slight risk already for next Saturday to next Sunday, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas because of the next system coming there. So we might need to watch this next system, maybe not so much for severe weather, but for heavy rain. So yeah, in precipitation, this is Tuesday today, shows that precipitation on the west, mainly snow, but does show some rain in the Dakotas too, in Minnesota. Shows more rain in the northeast, some showers in Florida, and yeah, and those storms there in the plains, but shows very little accumulation with this. Day 2 shows a lot there, especially Wisconsin, Iowa, in Arkansas, Texas, and those areas from that severe weather. It shows more across northern California and Oregon and parts of the west. Day 3 shows more from Texas to New York, that line of rainfall, especially in Oregon, California, a little bit more. Day 4, this is for Saturday already, shows more in Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico, and those areas. So this will be the day of the slight risk. And for next Sunday, shows close to 1.5 inches in Oklahoma and Kansas there, because the next system this weekend. Next Monday shows close to 2 inches near northern Oklahoma and Kansas, and more across the plains in the Midwest. So this next system, better watch. And day 7, next Tuesday, shows close to 2 inches still. Parts of Missouri there, Oklahoma 1.5 inches in those areas. So day 1 through 7, there's more than 4 inches on the forecast, close to 5 inches across Kansas, especially northeastern Oklahoma, parts of Arkansas, and especially Missouri. So be aware. And across the northwest, from Washington to California. Let's see. There are those high snowfall probabilities here, very high in Wyoming there. So this is like 24-hour probability of snowfall accumulating. So shows some 95% or greater in Wyoming, parts of the Rockies in Colorado there. So be aware of those areas. A probability or two near Nevada, California, and Idaho, but mainly the snowstorm in Wyoming there. Be careful. Wednesday still shows in Wyoming. Thursday shows a little bit in Colorado and Wyoming. Late next Thursday, it decreases a little bit and gains more like in Washington and Oregon. Next Friday shows some more in Idaho and Oregon there. So be aware of those areas, and even Northern California late next Friday. So be aware. There's like the freezing rain probabilities, only some like 5% probabilities in Colorado and Wyoming, very low probabilities there. But as you can see, as I mentioned in the forecast yesterday, those very high probabilities near eastern Quebec there. So be aware. And Thursday, still on Thursday, shows some high probabilities of freezing rain in parts of Quebec, and Friday it goes away. So be aware those areas. And it's mainly this. There's like here, wait, the winter storm severity index for parts of Wyoming there with the systems. So this is mainly today. They added some more areas of major impacts, parts of Wyoming. So day one, Wednesday. So let's see, this just for today. Wednesday they have some areas in the higher mountains of Wyoming, some major impacts there of winter storm, and in parts of Utah as well. So be aware. Day two, not really, and day three, not much. So be careful today, Wyoming. The snowfall amount is the greatest risk. You can see those majors there. The snow load, some risk, but nothing crazy. Ice, barely any. Flash freeze, nothing. And blowing snow, there's the risk of blowing snow too. Ground blizzard, not really. So many snow amount and blowing snow. Be careful there. There's still those days in parts of the south there, even the Midwest, and some 70s all the way into Michigan, some 40s in the northern New England, and some 30s and 20s on the mountains of the west still. So still cold there, even during the day. Like tonight until tomorrow, so like Wednesday morning, tomorrow shows very cold down the west, like 13 Fahrenheit, 20 Fahrenheit, 23, 26, 37. So be aware, those purplish areas in Colorado, Utah, and Nevada might be lower than like 10 Fahrenheit in the highest elevations, especially in that very purple area in Montana. So stay warm if you live there. And as you can see, Wednesday afternoon it does warm up a little bit in those areas, like some areas of Idaho, all the way to 54 degrees, but in the highest of elevations, still like in the 20s, in the highest elevations during the day. And then Wednesday night to Thursday shows still those 19, 24, 20 Fahrenheit, so very cold there. But before assuming to Colorado, let's just see the like maximum temperatures for Wednesday for the other areas. So some A is in 90s still in Texas, some A is in Florida, and all the way to 73 in the northeast, especially New York. Maine is still at like 58 Fahrenheit, but those areas in the south still hot. So like now back again in the minimal temperatures here. So let's just see like a little bit closer Colorado, because they have like in the highest parts of the Rockies there some very purplish areas. If that's the light purple is like 15 Fahrenheit, that very dark area must be close to like 5 or even 1 Fahrenheit in those darker areas. So please be careful there with the cold. And then like national again, let's see for day 3 now. So this is Thursday morning. Now here, Thursday during the day does show, come on here, so still shows like cold in the Rockies there, but still warmer in the south. So like some A is from southern Texas to Florida, and yeah, in Georgia, South Carolina too, and all the way to 79 degrees in New England. So especially in New York and Massachusetts, so a little bit warmer there because I had that system. So that's interesting because it was very cold there, and shows still some 20s in the mountains of the west, so still cold there during the day. And then Thursday night to Friday does show like some like 21 still, 23, 31, especially the cold moves east towards Minnesota, the Dakotas, some 20s in northern Wisconsin too, and still very cold in Wyoming especially, and those areas, so be aware. And then here, so Friday during the day warms up more there, shows some A is in the south still, but still cold in the Rockies there, especially some mountain ranges in Wyoming, still colder there. So let's see, but then Friday night to Saturday, let's see if it loads here. Uh, So shows like Saturday morning, still some low 20s in Wyoming, like 25 in Montana, some 30s across the west in the Sierra Nevada, in some areas there. Shows some 30s parts of Michigan and New England too. So be aware. And then Saturday during the day, does warm up a little bit to some 50s in the northeast, and still some 80s in Florida and Texas and southern Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and southern South Carolina and Georgia. So be aware, even in Arizona, some high 70s and low 80s, southern Arizona, but still very cold in the mountains, the northwest there. And then Sunday morning does show like here. Still shows very cold across the west there, and some 20s in New England again, and some 30s, and then shows like 19 in Oregon, 21, especially in Wyoming, higher elevations of Idaho and Montana, those things there, so be aware, very cold. And then here, so shows some is again on Sunday afternoon in the south, still cold in the mountains there, and yeah, and then Monday morning, show like day 6, shows once again that those 19, those 20s, those teens across the west, so still very cold there, and like some 30s in northern, in parts of Maine and New Hampshire. It shows some like the minimum temperatures in the 70s in southern Florida and southern Texas, and some other areas. Monday afternoon, day 7, does show like here. Let's see, shows some 70s in Southern California, some 60s in the valleys, and like some A is still in the southeast and South Texas, and more 70s and A is like the south central areas, and yeah, but very cold in the mountains still, so be aware. And now 48 hours snowfall, so today's Tuesday the 29th until Thursday shows more snow there in Wyoming, those areas, but let's go a little bit closer here because the snowfall amounts has slightly increased from what yesterday was showing. So that they now have some high elevations of Wyoming, more than 20 inches of snow, especially some very high elevation. They show like 6 inches, 1 inch, but the graph here goes all the way to like 20 inches or something in the highest of elevations. So be aware those areas. But yeah, and then here in the 24-hour max wind gusts for today, Tuesday. It's very windy out there today, especially in the southwest. So like shows here. So today's Tuesday. This is until it's valid until tomorrow at noon. So it does show here southern Colorado, most of New Mexico, more than 60-mile-per-hour gusts during some times of the day, especially in the afternoon and evening. Shows like some spots in Colorado close to 65-mile-per-hour gusts. So be aware there of those gusty winds. And now I only show the snow for the northwest, but like eastern Wyoming and South Dakota might have some too in Colorado, and some in Oregon, Washington, Northern California. So be aware. And then 24-hour ice. This is just the next 24 hours, but it doesn't show anything. That's good. Maybe a tiny hint or two, and yeah. And then yeah, so stay safe there. And let's see some things. So it's still those very below average temperatures in the north, across the west there, and those above average temperatures day 6 through 10, as you can see. Day 8 through 14 still shows like some more below average temperatures in the southwest, and some slightly above average in some areas there. Day 6 through 10 precipitation does show like some very above average precipitation, parts of the plains, the southwest, not the southwest, but like New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma, those areas, so be aware, and some below average in parts of California and Oregon. Although it's raining there, it's kind of below average. And then show like day 8 through 14, still some below averages in some parts of the north and west, and some above average in some areas. So be aware, the warnings are very interesting today. We have the red flag warnings, parts of the plains and the high plains, and even the Midwest, those red flag warnings, the wind advisories in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, parts of Missouri and Iowa too. Even parts of Michigan, Wisconsin, some wind advisories, those are wind advisories, and wind warnings in Colorado, Kansas, parts of Oklahoma Panhandle, New Mexico, and yeah, so be aware. A wind advisory or two in Arizona, Southern California, those freeze watches and freeze warnings there. Some freeze watches in the light blue, parts of Colorado and Utah, some freeze warnings in Arizona, parts of Utah as well, so be aware. And those winter storm warnings there in Wyoming, southern Colorado, those not Colorado, southern Montana, parts of western South Dakota, and the winter weather advisories throughout the Rockies there, so be aware. We also have these fire warnings there in central New Mexico, so be aware those areas. These warnings change all the time. You can always check this link in the description to stay alert. But be aware that they talk about the fire warning here, so stay safe. There's still a small blizzard warning, southern Alaska, high wind warnings there too, parts of southern Alaska, and those winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories there in Alaska, and some heavy freezing spray in northern Alaska. So be aware. So in Canada, does show some watches in parts of Nunavut for like some winter storm watches in Nunavut, and some like here's some snowfall warnings too, blizzard warning, snowfall warnings. So be aware. If you click on the specific warning like snowfall warning, you can see snowfall with total amounts 10 to 15 centimeters expected in Coral Harbor. So you can see all the timestamps here and the blizzard warning there. In Naujat, blizzard conditions with poor visibility and blowing snow expected or occurring. So blizzard and Naujat Tuesday. So be aware there. In the winter storm watches in those other parts of Nunavut. Blizzard conditions possible Wednesday and Wednesday night near the Rankin region, including Whale Cove, and the other winter storm watch in Arviat. So Wednesday to Wednesday night. So be aware. Shows in Quebec, the wind warning is not in Quebec. Be aware. In Yukon, those blizzard warnings, winter storm warnings, snowfall warnings, and more winter storm warnings in parts of Yukon, as you can see here. Because of that big system in Alaska, we have like those a bunch of snowfall in Yukon and those high winds. So if you click on the individual warnings, you can see tonight and Wednesday, Dempster Highway, blizzard conditions, winter storm warning, White Horse, Pelly, Camargues, 4, Ross River, White Pass. So be aware now until late Wednesday afternoon. So the snowfall, the reduced visibility, windy conditions, and some snowfall warnings here. Snowfall to amounts 10 to 20 centimeters. So yeah, so you can click on the individual warnings and read better, but stay safe. There are some wind warnings parts of British Columbia too. So coastal British Columbia there, be aware. They do mention some wind gusts all the way to 90 to 110 km per hour, the peak wind gusts, so be aware. The link is in the description. Now, for all the areas here, let's see what the models show. So first, snowfall maybe. So the European model does show what's happening here. So this is until Thursday in Wyoming. So it does have here some high elevations that are like 6 inches, some 10 inches of snow, 9 inches, and like other parts of Wyoming, some 9.2 inches, 8 inches. So it's not like 20 inches, but it's like 8 inches. So be aware. Nothing crazy, but this is a lot of snow for some areas. In Colorado, some 4 inches, 5 inches. Northern New Mexico, tiny hint. In California, does show Northern California some 8 inches until Thursday. In Oregon, already it's like 12 inches until Thursday. Some in Oregon there, and in Idaho does show tiny hint there. If I put this until November 3rd now, shows more across California, some high elevations of Southern California, especially in the Sierra Nevada, like 9 inches, 16 inches, and the European models all the way to 21 inches in Northern California, in Oregon, all the way to 27 inches in Oregon, and in Idaho, some more snow, Wyoming, so be aware. The European model does have this snow in Wisconsin too, so be aware there. So let's see here. So did this until the third. Let's put this until Friday. Does show some snow in parts of British Columbia too, like some 7 centimeters near the coast, some 25 centimeters. So especially western British Columbia and northern British Columbia there. But does show in Yukon those like 21 centimeters of snow, where they have those blizzard warnings, and like some other parts of northwestern territories, some lighter snow, and some even northern Saskatchewan, Manitoba, tiny hint, but many Nunavut to those winter storms. There's some 27 centimeters, 23, 19 centimeters. It shows that snow from that season there, passing through Ontario, Quebec, and all the way into Labrador there. So be aware in those areas, especially like northern Quebec and Labrador. So has some 41 centimeters, and some northernmost areas there near the Arctic. So be aware. And shows in Alaska more snow throughout southern Alaska. Northern Alaska, not much, maybe a shower or two of snow, but southern Alaska, a lot in the mountains there, close to like some 60 inches of snow. Some of the mountains, like some 9 inches, 21 inches in other areas. So be aware. Now the GFS has more northeastern Wyoming, some areas of 10 inches, uh, 8 inches, has some in South Dakota, close to 9, 10 inches, and has some in Colorado too. Utah, it has more in Oregon. So be aware. This is until Friday. Show some in Washington too. And the GFS does have that snow throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin, into Ontario and Quebec, and the northern Quebec has more snow as well. And now if I put this until November 3rd, does have even more snow parts of northern Quebec and across California there. It has like some 18 inches in the mountains, some 21 inches, eastern and northern California, has some scarce snow in Nevada too, and in Oregon the GFS like 27 inches, so be aware. There's the icon too, shows. First let's see if the her works. I don't know if the her, yes, it has snow. So the her does show snow until Thursday, close to some 18 inches in Wyoming, some areas of 15 inches, 13 inches, South Dakota, some like 9 inches, so be aware. The her also has some snow in Oregon until Thursday, some 8 inches, 5 inches, some in Northern California, and those areas. It does have a tiny hint in Minnesota, but not really much. It has more in central Ontario there, so be aware. Now, let's see the icon until November 3rd. Does show more in Oregon there, some 21 inches. Shows Wyoming more, California, but especially in Alaska there. The icons really equate those snowfall amounts to 83 inches in the mountains of southern Alaska, and shows more like southeastern Alaska does have a bit more, and most of southern Alaska in Anchorage has just 3 inches, but that's some snow. Shows more parts southeastern Alaska, and especially southernmost Alaska there, shows some 15 inches, 59 inches, so be aware, but that's mainly in the mountains there, and yeah, so be aware in those areas. And now shows here, the icon shows in Yukon some 30 centimeters, 31 centimeters. It has some in the mountains of British Columbia, but not really much. It has some in southern British Columbia too, and Alberta, but it has that snow in like northwestern territories, going through northern Saskatchewan, and like into northern Manitoba too. And yeah, it has more snow throughout Quebec, especially northern Quebec and Labrador, and throughout lower Ontario there, and Minnesota, some more snow. So be aware in those areas. Now the wind gusts still shows like this is the icon. It has like some really high wind gusts there. All the way to 116 km per gust in Colorado. This would be like some 72 mile per gusts, and all the way to 77 mile per gusts the icon has. This is today already happening. It shows not already happening, but almost. So be aware. So like in New Mexico, some 66 mile per gusts. In Arizona, shows some more in Oklahoma, Kansas, more than 50 mile per gusts. So be aware. And then later, this is Wednesday, shows a little bit more gusty winds in parts of northern Texas and New Mexico, in Oklahoma some, and it really kicks up northern California to 69 miles per hour next Wednesday afternoon. So shows some in Oregon tomorrow afternoon too, and it has some slightly gusty winds throughout much of the Midwest and the plains, especially like Illinois, some 38 miles per hour, and yeah, BOR. And then later, does have that system going near the Great Lakes. The icon has some very strong winds in Ohio and Wisconsin there. So be aware. This might be too strong, but it's close to 60 mile per gust in Ohio, and some more in Michigan, some stronger in southern Ontario, and in Indiana too. And then especially over the Great Lakes there later. The Danish does show some gusty winds near northern New York still, so like 49 mile per gusts. Southern Quebec a little bit gustier, New Hampshire and other areas. So be aware. But now the European model does have those strong winds now in New Mexico, but not as strong as the icon. It has like some 51 mile per gust, 57 in Colorado. Has like 66 mile per gust. So that's 10 mile per gusts less than the icon had. Then it has more very strong winds throughout most of Colorado, Oklahoma, Kansas. So be aware. It goes there, and later does show those strong winds in the northern Midwest in Michigan, some 50 miles per hour. Wisconsin on Thursday shows like in Lake Superior into southern Ontario, some stronger winds, and does show in Ohio some gusty winds like late Thursday night into Friday, and throughout some lakes there, especially in the middle of the lake, like 65 mile per gust into southern Ontario there, and does show northern New York and Vermont some stronger winds too, and like parts of Maine and southern Quebec. So be aware. And then after that, we might have some other systems on the west near Texas, Arizona, or California, but especially after November 5th in Montana again. They show like more than 55 mile per gusts on Tuesday, November 5th, and more across Washington too on that day as well. So we watch for those next systems, but not a big concern now. So be aware. Now here shows there's that system in Nunavut there, shows today there, alright, like southern Nunavut, some 70 km per gusts in Quebec. There are those wind warnings northern Quebec, some 83 km per gusts, some areas there. They might be even higher or even lower, because this is just a model. It's not like what's happening on the ground. And then like Wednesday does show these winds into some other areas there, like Cape Dorset, some high winds, and near some other areas north there. And then that system in Nunavut does show some 89 km per gusts tomorrow Wednesday, and in Arviat, where they have the winter storm watch, does show like Wednesday throughout the day tomorrow, so more than 80 km per gust, a little bit for the west, some 100 km per gust, northern Manitoba too, showing some very high gusts, so be aware in those areas, and some other areas of eastern Nunavut. And then it will go into Hudson Bay there, maybe in Quebec, some stronger winds next Thursday, so be aware. Now, and then now we have that system near southern Alaska, who close like 40 to 50 mile per gusts in some areas there. and then it shows this keeps spinning there will bring those winds to western British Columbia, close to some 88 to 99 km per gusts. Wednesday tomorrow, so some other areas there, so some very strong winds, southernmost Alaska, and yeah, be aware that system kind of diminishes before we get that next big low pressure there. The European model is still very radical with this. He has all the way to like some 88 km per gusts in the Aleutian Islands, just like 55 mile per gust, all the way to 62. This November 1st, November 2nd shows this keeps coming to southeastern Alaska, so like 64 mile per gusts, and then it shows more like southernmost Aleutian Islands in some areas close to 71 mile per gust, but it depends on where you're at. Then it shows the scrapes southern Alaska there, November 2nd, and who will kind of diminish there, but might leave some interior winds in British Columbia, some areas. So be aware, be careful with that system. Uh, Depending on the model, those winds might be different. For example, the NAM has now some like stronger winds there, especially near British Columbia, but southern Alaska is like some 50, 57 mile per gusts. And this is Wednesday, Thursday. So yeah, but what I wanted to show, like the icon for this next system, the icon in the Aleutian Islands, it has upwards of 75 mile per hour gusts as this crosses November 1st, the Aleutian Islands, and it has some areas there like some 81 mile per hour gusts, so that's incredibly strong. Please be careful. The GFS has some very strong winds too, but not as much. So be aware those areas. Now, just like rainfall for the areas there. So it does show more rain in the Aleutian Islands, southern Alaska. Most of this might be snow in the mountains, but in the coastal areas it will be rain. So it does show more than 100 millimeters there. Some rain in other areas, but much of this in like Yukon, Northwestern Territories, much of that is snow. But does show some rain associated with that cold front in Ontario, in Quebec, and into Wisconsin there in the plains. So be aware. Does show more in northern California and some areas until November 3rd. So be aware. And until November 5th, the European does have that big system crossing Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and those areas. So it does have uh, close to like 7 inches in the next 6 days there. So be aware. And now let's see. So be aware those areas, and just like for to show here this map, so there's that snow occurring in parts of Yukon now in southern Alaska, and then shows that mixed precipitation, that snow in Wyoming, Colorado, and Idaho, and those areas there, and already shows no northern Nunavut and some other areas. But then this is Tuesday. Wednesday shows that front in Quebec with some rain behind it, but snow in front of it. Does show that freezing rain in Quebec tomorrow, Wednesday. So I expect some freezing rain warnings near like some areas of eastern Quebec. There are not many cities here, but there are some areas. So be aware Wednesday tomorrow that freezing rain does show still some mixed ice Wednesday into Thursday in Labrador, some wet snow. There's this cold front on Thursday. She shows more rain in Ontario and Quebec there, into Newfoundland. And the European model does kick against some freezing rain in parts of southern Ontario on like Friday the 1st. So be aware. And then it has the system Wyoming now. Wednesday does have a spot or two of freezing rain, but mainly snow. It has some heavier snow there. It goes some wet snow. Then Wednesday, those storms tomorrow, that front, and be aware. And then it has another season starting on the west. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so starting more rain late Wednesday into Thursday in Oregon. Washington has more snow in the mountains of Washington, Oregon on Thursday and Wednesday, the 31st. And especially Thursday shows a spot or two of freezing rain there, but mainly snow and some rain across the west. Does show more snow across like Idaho, Wyoming, and some spots of freezing rain on November 1st. Shows more snow in British Columbia too on November 1st, a spot or two of freezing rain and in other areas. So be aware, in Nunavut we have that system there. Wednesday tomorrow, the does show more snow in areas like Arviat and Whale Cove, where they have those winter storm watches and the blizzard expectations. So be aware. It shows that snow from Yukon going to northwestern territories, maybe into northern Manitoba and in some areas there. So be aware. And does show like that system to southern Alaska on Thursday, the 31st. Does show some spots of freezing rain, but mainly snow. And then it goes there throughout Alaska before the next system on November 1st. That big system there might have more snow later. So be aware in those areas and stay safe. Let's just see one last thing here, and this is mainly it. Let's see if the her array has the forecast for the storms tomorrow. So now there's some storms happening that happen today, parts of Michigan and the Great Lakes and Ontario, and then it shows more rain today in Ontario. There's some in northern New York, more rain, and into Quebec some rain. Then it has the snow in Wyoming and goes out the Dakotas and the cold front tomorrow in Ontario there. But then later tomorrow afternoon does kickstart those storms in Kansas and parts of Nebraska. But you'll be like later in the evening kickstart those really severe storms because you can see this like um, late afternoon into the evening has that line of storms throughout Kansas. Those storms have the tornado potential there, and it doesn't go out that far, but even later in the evening shows northern Oklahoma there. Some severe storms start firing, but that's the line there with the severe weather tomorrow.